I sat in the lawyer's office that Tuesday morning, my hands still bearing the dirt from the early harvest. My cousins arrived in expensive cars, Marcus in his Tesla, Jennifer in her Mercedes, and Uncle Robert in something I couldn't even name. They wore designer suits while I wore my work jeans and flannel shirt. The contrast wasn't lost on anyone. Grandpa had passed 3 weeks earlier at 92. I'd been there, holding his weathered hand in the hospice room. The others had been too busy. Marcus was closing deals in Manhattan. Jennifer was vacationing in the Hamptons. Uncle Robert was retired in Florida, playing golf every day. Attorney Morrison cleared his throat and opened the thick manila envelope. The office smelled of old books and coffee. Through the window, I could see the town square where Grandpa used to take me for ice cream every Saturday when I was young. The estate consists primarily of the farmland, Morrison began, approximately 470 acres, valued at roughly $8.3 million, given its proximity to the new development corridor. I saw Marcus lean forward. Jennifer smiled. Uncle Robert nodded approvingly. However, Morrison continued, Thomas Hartley's will contains very specific conditions. He adjusted his glasses and read directly from the document. The land may only be inherited by the family member who has worked the soil within the past year. Should no one meet this requirement, the property will be donated to the Agricultural Preservation Trust. The room went silent. Marcus's face turned red. Jennifer's smile vanished. Uncle Robert looked confused. They all turned to stare at me. I said nothing. My calloused hands rested on my knees. Outside, a farmer's truck drove past, heading toward the fields I'd been tending every morning for the past 10 years. The explosion came immediately after we left Morrison's office. Marcus grabbed my arm in the parking lot, his expensive watch glinting in the afternoon sun. His grip was tight, aggressive. You manipulated him, he hissed. An old man with dementia, and you got in his ear. I pulled my arm free calmly. Grandpa didn't have dementia, Marcus. His mind was sharp until the very end. Jennifer joined in, her heels clicking on the pavement. This is ridiculous. You can't possibly keep all that land to yourself. It's worth millions. We're family. We deserve our share. I remembered the last 5 years, the countless times I'd called them, begging them to visit. Grandpa asking about them every Sunday dinner, me making excuses for why they were too busy. The disappointment in his eyes that he tried to hide. Where were you? I asked quietly. Where were any of you when he was alive? Uncle Robert stepped forward, trying to play peacemaker but failing. Now, let's be reasonable here. Your grandfather obviously didn't understand the implications. We can contest this. No judge would uphold such an arbitrary condition. I looked at each of them. The condition isn't arbitrary. Grandpa spent 70 years working that soil. He built everything from nothing. He wanted it to go to someone who understood that value. You're a farmer! Marcus spat the word like an insult. What are you going to do with $8 million worth of prime development land? Plant corn? Yes, I said simply. That's exactly what I'm going to do. Jennifer laughed bitterly. You're insane. Developers are circling. Do you know what that land could become? Shopping centers, housing developments, restaurants. Progress, David, the future. No, I walked toward my old pickup truck. Grandpa already decided what it should become. He decided 30 years ago when he taught me to drive a tractor. That evening, I stood in the middle of the north field, watching the sun set behind the old barn. This land held every important memory of my life. I could close my eyes and see Grandpa teaching me to plant seeds when I was 7, his patient hands guiding mine into the dark earth. The farmhouse stood in the distance, lights glowing warmly in the kitchen window. I'd moved in 5 years ago when Grandpa's health started declining. My wife Sarah had embraced the change, leaving behind her marketing job in the city. Our daughter Emma was now 12, growing up the same way I had, learning the rhythm of seasons, the satisfaction of harvest, the peace of morning fog over the fields. I remembered the summer I turned 16. Grandpa and I worked sunrise to sunset repairing the irrigation system. My hands blistered, my back ached. I complained constantly. "Why do we do this?" I'd asked him, frustrated and exhausted. "Why work so hard for something that might fail? Drought, disease, market prices, we can't control any of it." Grandpa had stopped, wiped his forehead, and looked at me seriously. "Because this land gives more than it takes, David. It gives purpose, it gives food, it gives life to the community. Money comes and goes, but land endures, land remembers, and if you respect it, it respects you back." I hadn't understood then. I'd gone to college, got a business degree, worked in corporate sales for 8 years. I wore suits. I made good money. I was miserable. Then Grandpa called. "I'm not getting younger," he'd said simply. "If you want to learn what I know, now's the time." I quit my job 2 weeks later. Marcus called me an idiot. Jennifer said I was throwing my life away. Uncle Robert said I'd lost my mind. But standing here now, dirt under my fingernails and peace in my heart, I knew I'd made the right choice. Morrison called me 3 days later. His voice was tired. "They're filing a contest. Marcus hired a firm out of New York. They're claiming undue influence and diminished capacity. I'd expected this. What do we need to do?" "We need to prove your grandfather was of sound mind and that his wishes were clear and intentional." The good news is he prepared for this. He left video testimony recorded 6 months ago, and he had a psychiatric evaluation done specifically to prevent this kind of challenge. Grandpa had known. Of course he'd known. He understood his family better than they understood themselves. The first hearing was scheduled for 6 weeks out. In the meantime, the calls started. Jennifer tried the emotional approach first, calling late one evening. "David, please, think about what you're doing. Mom left us nothing. Dad's pension barely covers his retirement. This is our inheritance too. Don't be selfish." I wanted to remind her about the lake house she'd just purchased, the European vacation she'd posted all over social media, but I kept my voice even. "Jennifer, Grandpa's will was clear. He didn't exclude you out of spite. He included conditions because he wanted the land protected." "Protected?" She laughed harshly. "It's dirt, David. Dirt that could be worth millions to all of us. You're choosing dirt over family." "No," I said quietly. "I'm choosing to honor a man who actually valued family. Where were you at Christmas? At Thanksgiving? At his birthday last year?" She hung up. Marcus tried a different strategy, intimidation. He showed up at the farm unannounced on a Saturday morning, bringing 2 men in suits. I was loading hay bales when his Tesla pulled up the gravel drive. "These are representatives from Horizon Development," Marcus announced. "They're prepared to offer $10 million for the property, cash, closed in 30 days. I continued loading hay. "Not interested." The pressure mounted daily. Anonymous calls, letters from law firms. A surveyor showed up claiming he had permission. He didn't. Sarah found me one evening sitting on the porch steps, head in my hands. "They're not going to stop," I said quietly. She sat beside me, taking my rough hand in hers. The evening crickets sang their familiar chorus. "Do you want to stop?" she asked. I thought about it honestly. Part of me does. Part of me thinks maybe they're right. Maybe I'm being selfish. That money could change our lives. Emma's college fund. Your parents' medical bills. We could travel, build a new house, retire early. Sarah was quiet for a long moment. "Do you remember our wedding? What your grandfather said in his toast?" I smiled despite everything. "He said some men chase fortune and others chase purpose, and the truly wealthy find them in the same place." "He was talking about this," Sarah said firmly. "This land, this life. When we moved here, I thought I was sacrificing everything. My career, my social life, the convenience of the city. But Emma's thriving. I'm happier than I've ever been. And you, You finally look like yourself, David. Not the stressed, hollow-eyed man who came home from the office every night hating his life. She squeezed my hand. This isn't about the money, it never was. Your grandfather knew that. He knew you were the only one who understood what this place really means. I pulled her close. What if we lose in court? Then we lose having tried, she said simply. But we won't lose because your grandfather made sure of that. That night I couldn't sleep. I walked through the dark fields, flashlight in hand, checking the irrigation lines. The moon was nearly full, casting silver light across the crops. This land wasn't just dirt, it was legacy. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Marcus sat with his lawyers, 3 of them, all looking expensive and confident. Jennifer was there with Uncle Robert. I had Morrison and the truth. Judge Patricia Hendricks was in her 60s, with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. She reviewed the initial filings, then looked up. I understand there's video testimony from the deceased? Morrison stood. Yes, Your Honor, recorded 6 months before Thomas Hartley's passing in the presence of 2 witnesses and a notary. Proceed. The screen flickered to life. Grandpa appeared, sitting in his favorite chair on the farmhouse porch. He looked thinner than I remembered, but his eyes were clear and focused. My throat tightened. My name is Thomas James Hartley, he began, his voice strong. I'm recording this of my own free will, in sound mind and body, to make my intentions absolutely clear regarding my property. He paused, looking directly into the camera. I have 3 grandchildren and 1 son. I love them all. But love doesn't mean blindness. For the past 15 years, only one of them has shown any interest in this farm, in this way of life, in the values I tried to instill. Marcus shifted uncomfortably in his seat. David came back, Grandpa continued. When he could have stayed in the city making money, he came back. He learned, he worked. He understood that this land represents more than property value. It represents generations of labor, of respect for the earth, of community. He leaned forward slightly. My will isn't cruel, it's honest. The land goes to the one who's earned it, to the one who'll protect it. And if none of them qualify, then it goes to people who will value it properly. His eyes seemed to look right through the screen at me. David, if you're watching this in a courtroom, it means they're fighting you. Stand firm, son. You've already won. Marcus's lead attorney, a sharp woman named Catherine Voss, stood for cross-examination. She was expensive, polished, and thorough. Morrison had warned me about her. Mr. Hartley, she addressed me on the stand, how long have you lived on the disputed property? 5 years continuously. Before that, I visited regularly since childhood, and during those 5 years, you lived rent-free. Yes, Grandpa needed help. I provided it. So you received free housing, valued at approximately $3,600 monthly for 60 months. That's over $200,000 in benefits. She paused for effect. Convenient position to influence an elderly man's estate planning, wouldn't you say? Morrison objected. Judge Hendricks sustained it, but the implication hung in the air. Voss continued, isn't it true that you convinced your grandfather to change his will approximately 18 months ago? No. He called his attorney independently. I didn't know about the change until after he passed. She pulled out documents. Yet you were present at 3 separate meetings with his attorney during that period. I drove him to appointments. He couldn't drive anymore. He had macular degeneration. How convenient. Her smile was cold. So you controlled his transportation, lived in his house, managed his daily care, and just happened to be the sole beneficiary of an $8 million estate. I kept my voice steady. I was present because I was the only one who cared enough to be present. Objection, Voss said sharply. Non-responsive. Overruled, Judge Hendricks said, looking at me with interest. Answer the question that's really being asked, Mr. Hartley. Why you, and not them. I took a breath. Because they stopped coming. 10 years ago, visits became annual, then every few years, then never. I didn't manipulate Grandpa. I just didn't abandon him. The courtroom was silent. Jennifer took the stand, looking sympathetic in a modest dress, a far cry from her usual designer wardrobe. Voss guided her through carefully prepared testimony. "Tell us about your relationship with your grandfather," Voss prompted. Jennifer dabbed her eyes. "He was wonderful. Growing up, I spent every summer on the farm. He taught me to ride horses, to appreciate nature. We were very close." "When did you last visit him?" "About 3 years ago. I wanted to come more often, but I live in Connecticut. I have a demanding career, 2 children. It's difficult." "Did you call him?" "Regularly, every few weeks." I wanted to stand up and call her a liar. Morrison touched my arm, shaking his head slightly. "Did your grandfather ever express concerns about the farm's future?" Voss asked. "Yes, he worried constantly. He was afraid David was working too hard. He wanted David to have help, to share the burden." This was creative fiction. Grandpa never said any such thing. "Did he ever discuss selling the property?" Jennifer nodded. "Several times. He knew the development offers were substantial. He wanted security for all of us." When Morrison cross-examined, his questions were surgical. "Ms. Patterson, you testified you called your grandfather every few weeks. Do you have phone records supporting that?" Jennifer hesitated. "I use different phones. Work, personal. My children's phones sometimes." "So, no records?" Morrison pulled out a document. "Your grandfather kept a journal. May I read an entry from April 14th, 2 years ago?" He read, "Haven't heard from Jennifer in 4 months. Called her office, but she was too busy. David says she's doing well. Wish I could see my great-grandchildren." Jennifer's face flushed. He was confused about dates sometimes. "He kept this journal for 40 years, Morrison said quietly. "Every entry is dated, detailed, and consistent. Were all those years of confusion?" The next piece of evidence was devastating to their case. Dr. Elena Martinez, the psychiatrist who'd evaluated Grandpa, testified via video deposition. "I evaluated Thomas Hartley at his request on March 8th, she explained. "He was concerned family members might challenge his mental capacity after his death." "And your findings?" Morrison asked. "Mr. Hartley scored exceptionally well on all cognitive assessments. His memory was excellent, his reasoning sound, his judgment clear. He showed no signs of dementia, undue influence, or cognitive decline beyond normal age-related changes." "Did he explain his reasoning for the will's conditions?" Dr. Martinez nodded. "Extensively. He spoke about each family member individually. He expressed love for all of them, but disappointment in most. He was very clear that his decision was based on values, not favoritism. He wanted the land to remain agricultural, and he trusted only David to honor that." Voss tried to discredit the testimony. "Isn't it unusual for someone to seek psychiatric evaluation specifically for estate planning?" "Not at all," Dr. Martinez replied. "It's increasingly common when testators anticipate challenges. It shows foresight and clear thinking, exactly what we'd expect from someone of sound mind." After the testimony, I saw Uncle Robert in the hallway. He looked older, defeated. For a moment, I felt sorry for him. "You really going to keep all of it?" he asked quietly. "It's not about keeping it, Uncle Robert. It's about protecting it." He shook his head. "Your grandfather was stubborn. Looks like it runs in the family." He walked away slowly. That evening, Sarah met me at the courthouse steps. Emma was with her, still in her school uniform. "How'd it go, Dad?" Emma asked. "I picked her up despite her protests that she was too old." "Good, sweetheart. Really good." We drove home past fields of golden wheat, and I felt Grandpa riding with us. The trial was nearly over when Marcus made his final move. He appeared at the farm at dawn, looking disheveled. I was starting the tractor when I saw him walking across the field. No expensive car this time. He'd parked on the road and walked in. "I need to talk to you," he said. His voice was different, quieter. I shut off the engine. "I'm listening." He looked around at the fields, the barn, the farmhouse in the distance. "I don't understand this. Any of this. Why work like this when you could be wealthy?" "I am wealthy, Marcus." He laughed bitterly. "You drive a 20-year-old truck. Your clothes are from farm supply stores. Your daughter goes to public school. And I sleep peacefully every night. Can you say the same?" That struck something. His shoulders sagged. "I'm in debt, David. Serious debt. The lifestyle, the appearances, the pressure. I need this money." For the first time, I saw my cousin as a human being rather than an adversary. "What happened to you?" "Life happened. Success happened. I got caught in the race and forgot why I was running." She sat down in the dirt, expensive pants forgotten. "Grandpa called me 4 years ago, asked me to come help with harvest. I said I was too busy closing a deal. I wasn't. I was playing golf." "Why didn't you come?" "Pride, embarrassment. I didn't want him to see what I'd become, someone who values money over everything else." He looked at me. Someone completely opposite of what he tried to teach us. We sat in silence. The sun climbed higher, warming the morning. "I'm not dropping the case," Marcus finally said. "My lawyers won't let me, but I wanted you to know, part of me hopes you win." "Why tell me this?" He stood, brushing dirt from his pants. "Because Grandpa would have wanted me to be honest, at least once." Judge Hendricks took 2 weeks to render her decision. The courtroom was packed when we returned. I noticed several local farmers in attendance. Word had spread about the case. "I've reviewed all testimony, evidence, and documentation," Judge Hendricks began. "This case presents a question not just of legal validity, but of testamentary intent and property rights." Marcus leaned forward. Jennifer gripped Uncle Robert's hand. "The contestants argue that Thomas Hartley's conditions were arbitrary and designed to exclude them unfairly. However, the evidence shows otherwise. Mr. Hartley was demonstrably of sound mind. His psychiatric evaluation was thorough and conclusive. His video testimony was clear, specific, and thoughtful." She paused, looking at each family member. "More importantly, the condition wasn't arbitrary. Working the land isn't a trivial requirement. It's fundamental to understanding its value. Mr. Hartley spent 70 years farming. He wanted his successor to understand that commitment." Judge Hendricks looked directly at me. "Mr. David Hartley met this condition. He worked the land for 5 years before his grandfather's death. He left a successful career to learn farming. He demonstrated the exact values Thomas Hartley wished to preserve." My heart pounded. "Therefore, I find the will valid and enforceable. The property is awarded to David Hartley with all conditions upheld. Furthermore, I'm ordering the contestants to pay court costs. Attempting to override a clear, legally sound will wastes judicial resources." The gavel came down. It was over. Marcus stood and walked out without a word. Jennifer was crying, real tears this time. Uncle Robert approached me. "I'm sorry," he said simply, "for all of it." I shook his hand. "Come visit sometime. The door's always open." Morrison clapped my shoulder. "Your grandfather knew exactly what he was doing." Outside, farmers I barely knew congratulated me. One old-timer named Earl gripped my hand firmly. "Your granddad was good people. Glad the land's staying where it belongs." Spring arrived with renewed promise. I stood in the same north field where I'd stood after Grandpa's funeral, but everything felt different now. The legal battle was behind us. The farm was thriving. Sarah had started a farm-to-table program with local restaurants. Emma was teaching younger kids about sustainable agriculture through a 4-H program. The land was producing not just crops, but community. Marcus called occasionally. Stiff conversations at first, but gradually warming. He'd sold his apartment, downsized his life, taken a teaching position, trying to figure out what actually matters, he'd said. Jennifer still didn't speak to me. I hoped that would change someday. Uncle Robert visited monthly now. He'd stand in the fields, remembering his own childhood here. I forgot what this felt like, he admitted once. Forgot what he was trying to teach us. The development offers never stopped. Horizon development went as high as 12 million. I declined everyone. This land wasn't for sale at any price. I'd framed Grandpa's video testimony and hung it in the farmhouse study. Some nights, I'd watch it, hearing his voice again. "Stand firm, son. You've already won." He was right. I'd won something worth more than money, purpose, peace, and the satisfaction of knowing I'd honored a good man's legacy. The farm supported 3 families now. I'd hired 2 workers, both young people wanting to learn sustainable agriculture. The old barn was being converted into an educational center. Grandpa's dream was growing. On the anniversary of his death, we held a memorial service in the south field. Neighbors came, farmers, townspeople. We planted an oak tree. Emma read a poem she'd written about her great-grandfather. Sarah spoke about the importance of preserving agricultural heritage. I simply said thank you to Grandpa, to everyone present, to the land itself. That evening, I walked the fence line as the sun set. My hands were calloused, my back ached from the day's work, my boots were caked with mud. I was exactly where I belonged. 5 years have passed since the trial. The farm has become something beyond what even Grandpa imagined. We host school groups, agricultural workshops, and seasonal festivals. Emma, now 17, plans to study agricultural science in college and return to help manage the operation. Marcus visited last month. He brought his kids. I'd barely met them before. We spent the day teaching them to plant seeds, feed chickens, and appreciate the simple satisfaction of physical work. His daughter asked if she could come back in the summer. Marcus looked at me, hopefully. I said yes. The land that almost became strip malls and housing developments now feeds hundreds of families. The farm stand Sarah started has become a regional attraction. We employ 12 people full-time. The Educational Center hosts programs for at-risk youth, teaching them that success doesn't only come from corporate careers. I found Grandpa's old journals in the attic. Reading them has been like conversing with him again. One entry stands out, written 30 years ago. Taught David to drive the tractor today. He's a natural. Someday, if I'm lucky, he'll understand what this land really means. Not property, not value, legacy. He was luckier than he knew. I still get calls from developers. The land's value has increased to nearly 15 million now. Each time, I politely decline. This land isn't measured in dollars. Last week, I stood in the North Field with Emma, teaching her the same lessons Grandpa taught me. She asked why we don't sell when we could be rich. I told her what he told me, because this land gives more than it takes. It gives purpose, food, and life to the community. Money comes and goes, but land endures. She understood immediately. That's when I knew the legacy was secure. The sun sets over the same fields Grandpa worked for 70 years. I work them now. Someday Emma will, and someday perhaps her children will. The soil remembers every hand that's touched it, every seed planted, every harvest celebrated. Grandpa's will didn't just determine ownership, it determined who was worthy. I hope I've proven worthy. I hope I've honored not just his wishes, but his life. The land endures. The legacy continues. And every morning I wake grateful.